In this episode, we're going to talk about how to give effective commands to our children. Have you ever had to repeat yourself to your kids? Does this sound like you? Okay, kids, it's time to pick up your toys. And then silence. Nothing happens. Directives are what we as parents say when we're giving instructions to our children. And when children ignore our directives, we end up repeating ourselves. Sometimes children may only require a reminder or two, and sometimes it's much more. Many parents can relate to the experience of having to ask their children many times, 5, 10, even more times before their child finally does what it is asked of them. This can be really frustrating, but let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Every time we ask our child to do something and they either forget or ignore us, we have created another negative interaction. You may remember in episode 25 about the positive to negative ratio of interactions with our children, that for many parents, the number of negative moments far outweigh the number of positive moments in any given day. That doesn't feel very good for you or for your child. If you are a seasoned parent, you may have noticed that children sometimes complete a task they're asked to do when the parent finally gets loud enough or sounds frustrated enough that they know they've crossed the line or they're really close to it. Have you ever wondered, why do I have to yell in order to get my child or children to even do the simplest of things? While it may be more complex than this, one common reason is that the way in which we ask our children to do things is not very effective. And if we have been having this problem for months or years, then this pattern of interaction may be pretty well established. And this dance between parent and child can be harder to change. To be sure, it can and will change, but not because your child thinks it's a good idea. Remember, they're getting something out of not listening and doing the task right away. Their reinforcement is that they get to keep doing what they're already currently doing. And that thing, whatever it is often more interesting to them than what you're asking them to do. We just talked about your frustration. On the other side of the equation, each time you have to remind your child to do a task, get homework started, take out the trash, pick up their toys, get ready to go somewhere, and they don't respond quickly, you are essentially increasing the positive reinforcement for their negative behavior. Let me put it another way. If you ask me to do something and I ignore you, and I can continue to do what I'm doing, playing a video game, reading a book, watching a show on television or on my tablet or phone, whatever it is, that experience is more pleasant than the task you asked me to do. In the future, I'm more likely to keep doing it even though you asked me to do something else. Why? Well, because there's no real cost to changing my behavior. In fact, I like to joke that the training that we are engaging when we parent our children is a bit of a two-way street. If we have to continually repeat ourselves to our child to do something that they could have done after the first request, then they're actually training us to repeat ourselves. Why? Because we had to ask multiple times until they finally did what we asked them. Let's do a quick thought experiment. Imagine the enthusiasm your child would feel and how quickly they would jump up to help you if you asked them to help fold the laundry, put away dishes, feed the pet, or get ready to go to school. If at that very moment they were watching their favorite show or playing with a tablet or playing with their favorite toys. What do you think they'd do? Now imagine what their reaction would be if they were doing any of those things they enjoy and you asked them if they wanted a delicious bowl of their favorite ice cream or some other really tasty food. Most kids would drop what they were doing and swarm the kitchen. So what's different? The key difference is that the second thought experiment, the one involving ice cream, what you are asking them to do is more enticing or interesting than what they're doing now. When I have the joy of taking care of my grandson, he's not always a big fan of going to bed. Many kids aren't. I get it. Look at it from his point of view. Why would that be fun? You don't remember going to sleep. It's often dark. You're often alone, away in a different room from parents and interesting things to do. Going to bed for many kids ranks really low on the exciting things to do list. So I make it a game. I run upstairs to play hide and seek. We take turns hiding and finding each other. We make a game of putting on pajamas and brushing our teeth. We tell stories, read stories, snuggle, and then we're good to go. It is not always perfect, but it's much better than a pitched battle or power struggle over going to bed. So the first important step in giving effective commands is making sure we have our child's attention. Have you ever shouted a request from across the house while your child's in a different room? What were the results? You're not even sure they heard you. Have you ever asked your child to do something when they were deep in their play or watching a show? Chances are they did not quite register the command. And so when giving effective commands, make eye contact with your child. Get down at their level physically. Gently make contact with them, like a touch on their shoulder. Make your command statement brief and clear. The second important step is to make sure your command doesn't sound optional, like there's a choice involved. Here are some examples. Do you want to come to dinner now? Do you want to pick up your toys? Do you want to take a bath now? Do you want to get ready for bed? You may see a theme to these statements. Each one ends with a question mark. Questions like this imply a choice. Imagine you're asking your child if they want to take a bath now, and they're busy playing. Again, they may be doing something that to them is much more interesting than taking a bath. For some, taking a bath may signal the beginning process of getting ready for bed, something else that they may not be so keen on doing. So you ask the question, do you want to take a bath now? And your child says, no thanks, I'm good. Where does that leave you? This is where it can get frustrating for the child. You have asked them if they want to do something as if it's optional. And then you tell them that it really isn't. You've kind of stuck yourself into a pickle because you've tried to give them a choice, kind of, cajoling them into doing what you've asked them. I think at some level, because we want the child to do something that we need them to do, we ask as if it were an option, hoping that they choose it, because we don't want to have a battle with them. We think if the child thinks it's their idea, they're more likely to do it. And that is true, but it can backfire when there really shouldn't be a choice. And we'll be discussing clear choices and giving clear choices in a podcast coming up soon. But think about it. You ask your child, who may not love the idea of going to bed or taking a bath or getting ready or doing their homework or whatever else it is, if they want to do that thing. What you may be hoping to hear is that your child really appreciates you asking them because they know they need 10 hours of sleep to be fresh and ready in the next day, or they know they need to be clean, or they know they need to do their homework, and they really appreciate that. Like that's ever happened in your home, ever, that they really appreciate you reminding them. More often than not, some transitions to doing things kids don't want to do involve a little pushback. It's not their first choice. It's not even their second choice of what they'd prefer. So when there is no option, no choice, don't suggest that there is. Here are some examples. It's time to get ready for bed now. It's time to pick up toys now. It's time to put our boots and coat on and go to the car now. It's time to take a bath. It's time to come to the dinner table to eat. Yes, your child may not jump up and run because you've given them a command, but there is no confusion about what you want and who is in charge of the decision. And when your child does push back, even a little, it's fine to come alongside them and help them by acknowledging their feelings, validate their emotions. As Dr. Dan Siegel says, connect before you correct. And so you say, yes, if I were your age, I would not want to do this either, but it's a rule. Let's get it done. And then try to find a way to make that next thing something more enjoyable by making it a game, by finding a way to smooth that out for them. Within this framework of giving effective commands, there's room for some limited choice. For example, children may not want to put their coat on and walk all the way through a big building before they go outside. They might get hot that way. So you give them a choice. You can put your coat on here or when we get to the door. Other examples are you can brush your teeth with toothpaste or without toothpaste. It's the toothbrushing that really matters. You can pick up these toys or those toys. You can have this snack or that snack. And when they push back and want a third option, it's okay to come alongside and validate the emotion, but hold your ground. If I were you, I might want that choice also, but that's not an option today. These are your two choices today. For young children and school-age children, it's important to keep it simple. Issue a command when you are in a place to make sure your child can start to do whatever you've asked them to do immediately, within 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Children are not very good at telling time. They may mean well, they may want to help to do the task, but they, like us, can get distracted and forget. So make your request when you have your child's attention and you're in a place that you can make sure that they can follow through. If you make a request as you are walking away, or if the request is for your child to remember to do something later in the day, be prepared to have to remind them, as they are very likely to forget. When giving a command, be specific and clear. For example, clean your room can have a wide range of interpretations. It is more successful if parents describe what a clean room looks like. Your room is clean when the bed is made, the toys are off the floor, the clothes are in the drawer, and the closet doors are closed. Sometimes it even helps to take pictures of those specific tasks in the room and then define what clean looks like is what is posted on the bedroom wall. Pictures of those things that are done. Your room is clean when it all looks like these 4 or 5 pictures. Many young children do better when the commands are broken down and delivered one at a time. As they get older, they'll be able to remember longer strings of commands. Having a child do 1 or 2 things as commands is a great start. It can also be helpful to not assume your child has mastered what you're asking them to do. Parents can find it very rewarding to make a game of certain chores or tasks like picking up toys, pretending to be a bulldozer or a steam shovel and pushing them toward the box and lifting them into the box. Turning the task of putting toys away more as a fast relay race with both of you on the same team can also help. Again, making a task fun is more likely to elicit cooperation. To recap, a good command does not have a question mark that follows it. Be clear about commands versus questions, which imply choice. Questions are great, but not when what you really need is for a task to get done. Get your child's attention before giving a command. Be sure to follow through so your child is doing what you ask them to do right away. And finally, be sure that you use specific praise when your child does what you ask. It might sound like this. Thank you for putting your toys back in the box right away. That was really helpful because now I can vacuum the floor. Would you like to help? In this episode, we talked about giving effective commands. Please consider taking an inventory of the times you give your child commands and how often they're truly commands, or if you sometimes slip into asking questions. If you do, then there's an easy way to recover this. You can apologize to your child for confusing them and restate what you have just asked as a command. I'm sorry I suggested that you had a choice here. Let me say that a better way. It's time to go to bed now. Notice if some of your commands meet resistance. Is there a pattern here? Is it about doing chores or taking a bath? Consider what your child is doing at the moment you give them the command. How many kids willingly tear themselves from their tablet or fun play to go do a chore? Consider reshuffling the deck so that the fun thing they want to do can happen just as soon as they do the thing that you need them to do first. Consider ways that you can make common areas of conflict a fun activity, something you both look forward to, or a game. This won't work with everything, but it can reduce the number of negative interactions and help your child become more compliant with your commands. As we go through episodes on specific discipline strategies for managing challenging behaviors, please challenge yourself to learn more. Go back to previous podcast episodes to get the big picture of parenting. Even more tools for your parenting toolbox. Knowing what function the behavior serves is incredibly important. Please check out the episodes in this podcast series on why kids misbehave, common parenting mistakes, and keeping track of problem behaviors to better equip yourself as a parent. Also, go back and check out the episodes on the parent-child relationship and parenting styles. Finally, these tools are common strategies that are taught in many evidence-based parenting programs. No one strategy works by itself. No one strategy works for every child. These discipline strategies are common, and they commonly work for most children. If you are having persistent difficulty with your child's behaviors or big emotions, please seek professional help. Please remember, discipline is about teaching our children. We do this by being present for them each day in ways that we are able. We model, we guide, we help them to learn to problem solve. We keep them safe. We listen to them. We nurture them. We help them create routines and learn self-control. We create memories. We play with them and laugh with them. We love them. Thank you for tuning in and considering this parenting topic. I hope this information added to your growing toolbox of parenting your child or children. Please consider exploring other topics in this series. Remember, no one parenting tool can do everything. We need many tools to become the best parents for our children. Your children's future depends on you and the time and effort you invest in them today.